So Christian, we just had a debate on what's going to happen in the next few meetings up ahead, so the meeting of the Internet Governance Forum in Baku, and then the ITU convention in Dubai, and these big events coming up that might set the scenes for internet governance in the next few years. So we also talked a little bit about, breaking that internet governance is such a big thing, and it sounds so abstract to many people, but kind of breaking that down to a national level and things that we can actually do here in Germany. I don't think we've been leading very well by example somehow if we look at our policy in the last few years in terms of upkeeping internet freedom and setting the right signs across the world. Would you agree on that?
Well, I would say regarding the international dimension, definitely, as I think the whole discussion regarding internet policy making in the last years in Germany was clearly dominated by topics regarding copyright, which of course are important issues, but I think regarding the human rights perspective, not the most important one. And so I think we had a shift in the last year. I would say that now the discourse is not only happening anymore in the well-known circles, the techie guys who have been to all those forums in the last year, that the public discussion now discusses the international questions regarding who's ruling the net, regarding top-level domains, but a very important point as well, the export of cyber censorship techniques, which is a discussion where Germany really has a responsibility, because there are some German companies exporting those techniques and those technologies, those surveillance technology, and there we have a clear responsibility as Germany, and German policymaking has a clear responsibility to regulate this export of censorship technologies.
So let's just make that clear for everybody who's maybe not so involved in the debate. So Germany is, of course, one of those countries in the West that will go around saying, yay, Arab Spring and the internet is such a great tool to create democratic movements. And at the same time, I think we're even the top world exporter of censorship and surveillance software. And at present, there's no control. Like the state doesn't actually care what company exports what kind of software to what country. Is that right?
There's not even no control, but the German government, in fact, is actually supporting this. Actually, there's a strategy by the German Federal Ministry for Economy. There's this strategy basically outlines that those techniques in those strategy called civil security technology are a key factor for German export. So this is one point, and the second point, that the same ministry is actually securing such exports through so-called Hermes guarantees, and so it's a traditional contradiction in German human rights policy.
What can we do about that? I mean, that seems like a huge issue, but I don't get the impression that many people are talking about that at the moment.
Well, I think that the picture at least is changing within the ministry, that the debate started about it. What we as Reporters Without Borders at least demand from a civil society perspective and from an organization which works globally through our correspondence network and through our assistance desk helping journalists and bloggers in need, what we demand at least that surveillance technology, surveillance software is regulated as weapons, as we really believe they are as threatening as shooting gun, and yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of talk about cyber war and cyber security, and this should somehow fit into the equation, right? And not just be dealt with as an economic good that's great to spread across the world. Yeah. So do be shameless and tell people where they can get more informed, because I know that you, Reporters Without Borders, have been doing some research on this and also kind of getting busy to kind of start campaigning towards this direction.
Well, unfortunately, the whole sector is quite intransparent, and that's what we would like to try to change. So I can't recommend you several websites where you can obtain this information, but we try to do this. But so far, you can direct to Reporters Without Borders. You can go to our website, and there we have some papers explaining those contradictions. And hopefully in 2 or 3 years we will have a register due to our successful advocacy work where you can read to which countries it has been exported.
That's great, and I think there's also a website, just so it's not such shameless advertising for Reporters Without Borders, called the Spy Files, which also shows a world map of what surveillance software is created where and exported to where, by what companies, so that's also a good place to get informed. And maybe we can just say that everybody watching this should, of course, get in touch with their Member of Parliament and tell them that they think this is a bad thing which needs to change.
Definitely.
Okay, thanks very much for this interview.